Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Rose's Randoms, and here is episode 5 of Cassandra. So we are on the second to last episode, so let's get it, okay? So the last episode ended with Cassandra rolling up in the kitchen. Sam is away at a mental hospital because everyone thinks she's crazy. Cassandra is at home with David and the kids. And she's like, yes, we are finally a family now. So finally, David realizes that, oh snap, everything that everyone has been saying about Cassandra is true, which it's like, yeah, took you to see for yourself, like literally not questioning anything anyone has told you, like refusing to believe them literally up to the last second. So he starts searching for phones and stuff, but Cassandra's like, I've hit them all, and if you try to escape, I'm gonna blow up the house. And so we go back to 1972, and Peter, Cassandra's son, is in the kitchen, and Peter is telling his mom, Cassandra, that he's going to meet someone, and Cassandra thinks it's a girl, and I'm thinking maybe it's a boy, because I'm thinking this whole time I'm thinking that Peter is gay, right? Because of how like they make him act, and just like the little subtle things he says about not wanting to play soccer, just like his very like was super into ice skating when he was a child, and to the point where it's like he wanted ice skates, and his father was like, like he's gonna grow up to be a sissy and this and that. So I just felt like there were certain clues that were thrown into there, right? However, it turns out that when Peter supposedly goes out, Cassandra actually follows him. And turns out Peter is literally just sitting outside in front of like a store or a deli, a restaurant, wherever it is, by himself, just sitting there chilling, and she's watching him like sad, because I guess Peter, he pretty much kind of feels like he's alone. He feels like he's different probably, and so yeah, that's what I get from this scene in the story, and it's really never confirmed if he's gay or not. I'm trying. I want to bank on that he probably is, and they just decided not to show that. I really thought there was going to be some type of parallel between him and Finn, the son from present day, but I guess not. Back at the house, still 1972, Cassandra is going up the stairs and she nearly faints. And Horst is out, and there's a scene that shows that Horst is definitely with Birgit, which is Cassandra's friend who Horst is having an affair with. And she calls Birgit because she knows Horst is there. And she's like, hey, can I speak to Horst? Right? And Birgit's like, what are you talking about? And Cassandra's like, listen, cut it out. Like, I know Horst is there. I need to talk to him. I think that something is wrong. And so like still in kind of denial, they're like, no, like I'm not here, or he's not here. And then Cassandra's like, well, I'm outside your house and I see Horst's car here, so I know he's here. Tell Horst to come out. And so Horst does come out, and he tries to make this excuse as to why he's at Birgit's house, and Cassandra is like, I know you always happen to come over here when Birgit is off, and when on the days that her husband has to go to work. So like, I know, but it's like Cassandra doesn't really care about this. She's like, something is wrong with me, yada, yada, yada. So they take her to the doctor. Turns out she is terminally ill. So she is going to die, and she has cancer. And so this is what starts the ball rolling with the robot business. So earlier on, a couple episodes back, one of the first couple episodes, I don't remember if I mentioned this or not, but when Cassandra had went to his place of work because she thought he was trying to catch him having an affair, he had told her that he was working on an experiment to preserve human life. And so Cassandra asks him about this experiment, and he says, well, they actually fired me from that job, not his like actual like job, but just working on that experiment. But Cassandra is like, listen, like I need you to get this done. Like I want you to help me live. And so we fast forward a little bit and we see that Horace has taken Cassandra to his place of work, and he's talking to her and he's like, oh, you know, like I figured out that if we give up our human shell and we just take all of the things out that make us human, like our thoughts, the way our brain works, what makes us like that individual, we could actually be immortal. And then it shows us a robot, not the robot that she's currently in, but just like another robot. And this is where we realize that, oh, he put Cassandra into a robot, right? Oh, and let me go backwards a little bit. The whole reason that Cassandra even got cancer in the first place is because of radiation. And the doctor had asked her, oh, were you exposed to a ton of radiation? And this is when, you know, her and Horace both realized that that ultrasound or whatever it was called that was done on her, because when she was pregnant, is more than likely what caused her to get sick in the first place, because it used a ton of radiation. And so now fast forwarding again, 2 months after Horace had taken Cassandra to his lab to show her that, oh, if we put you in a robot, you could be immortal, all of that stuff. 2 months later, there's a ton of work going on in the basement. And this is where we see that same setup that's in the present day that, you know, shows like all the gadgets and everything that's supposed to make the robot and the smart house run. And there's smart TVs putting up all around the house, same layout as the present house that the current family is in. And so that's how we know that, okay, this is what started everything and this is actually happening. And so the next day, Cassandra goes down to the same guy that assisted Horst in doing the ultrasound on her, because he's helping put everything together. And she's telling him like, hey, like I know that thing that you did on me made me sick. And she's angry with him, but then he says, listen, I can make it up to you. And because I don't remember where in the episode this is mentioned, I'm gonna just tell you right now, him making it up to her was pretty much like making the off switch for the system faulty, so that if anyone went to turn her off as a robot, they would not be successful. In other words, like she's the only one that can choose to turn herself off. No one else can. There is no off switch for her. Sometime later, they take Cass down to the basement to do the procedure. And then a little bit after that, we see the smart TVs turning on. And that's how and Horst is talking to the TVs, calling them Cassandra. And that's how we know that the procedure is done and it was successful. However, as Peter is standing near the basement door, the lab assistant and some other people are bringing up a body bag, a closed body bag. And so Peter is like, oh my God, like, what is this? Is this my mom? And Horst is like, don't open it. And of course, Peter still opens it. And there's this horrifying, like, it's shown briefly, but it's horrifying. It shows Cassandra pretty much dead. And then her robot body, I don't know if it rolled up before or after, but Cassandra inside of the robot. And she's telling Peter like, oh, it's me, I'm the same person. And Peter is not wanting to accept this, and neither would I. I'm like, you're not my mom. It's just like, how, like, you transferred into a robot, but it's like, you're not my mom. Like, I'd be so confused. I wouldn't know how to feel either. So I don't blame Peter, to be honest with you. We go back to the present and we realize that Cassandra's actually telling David and the kids this. And right after that, she pretty much like locks David in a separate room away from the kids who are still in the kitchen. And as he's pointing at her, telling Cassandra, like, you're not their mother, she raises her scissor hand and cuts his finger off. And then we go back to 1972. And here we notice Cassandra really feeling the effects of being a robot, because she wants to be with her husband and she can't. And he goes into the shower, and like she tries to convince him to let her watch him shower because that's all we can do, right? And he's like not really for it because he's like, it's weird, And also, not only this, it's like, I don't feel like he's actually completely distraught that she's gone. Like, again, like, I feel like he was using her to do all these experiments and test his stuff out on her. And not only that, like, he was already having like an affair with her best friend. So, I don't really think he feels like he's missing out on anything. However, he lets her watch him shower, but then he ultimately is just like, yeah, this is weird. Like, we're not doing this anymore. So then a few moments later, or however long later, Horst is, well, actually, Peter is reminiscing about his mother looking at photos and stuff like that. And then, like, Cassandra's like, I'm here, I'm still here. And Peter's like, I'm an orphan now. Which is kind of hilarious because, he still has his father, but obviously his father never cared about him. So it's terrible, but also funny that he said that because it's like, yeah, I guess you kind of are an orphan. And so then Horst tries to leave, and he tells like Cassandra, like, oh, like, I'll be back later. But, she does not allow this, and she locks the door. So like a little bit later, like they're sitting down watching TV, and I think Cassandra says something to him and he's had enough. So he goes back down to the basement, or he goes into the basement, and he shuts Cassandra off. But we know that she can't turn off. She can't turn off, only if she wants to. And so then Birgit calls and she cuts the phone line. So Cassandra cuts the phone line. However, she still comes over to the house with the baby that she's had, which I think I forgot to mention. She was pregnant. She had a baby. Supposedly, we know that it's not her husband's baby. We know it's Horst's child. Eventually, Horst does tell Peter that the baby is his baby and that there's going to be a family. And Peter is like, what? But what can Peter do? So anyways, Birgit is now at the house, and the baby is upstairs by themselves sleeping in the crib. And Robot Cassandra wakes herself up after she's been pretending to sleep, I'm assuming. And she takes the baby in the carriage and she rolls the baby down the stairs. But luckily, Peter catches the baby as it's rolling down the stairs, and the baby is just fine. At this same moment, Birgit is going to open the oven, and then her necklace gets stuck in the oven, and Cassandra uses this opportunity to bang, like open, close the oven to bang Birgit's head against the oven or the stove. But she doesn't die. She's just horribly injured. And Horst is like distraught over this, which is like, dude, this is kind of your doing. Back in the present, Cassandra decides to lock everybody in their rooms, but she decides to stay with Juno inside her room. And David kind of puts the pieces together, or he thinks he puts the pieces together, and he says, oh, that car accident that Sam was telling me about that happened with your husband and your son, that wasn't an accident, that was murder. And it's like, oh, so you were listening when Sam was talking to you, you just didn't care. So back in 1972, we see that Birgit and Horst, along with Birgit's baby and Peter, are trying to escape the house. And they get into the car and they speed off, and Peter for some reason, like, well, not for some reason, his mother is back at the house. He's desperately trying to get out of the car. He's telling his father, we got to turn around, we got to turn around. His father's like, no. And Peter is trying to open the door. And so Horst grabs him and closes the door, which it's like, I would have thought that Horst didn't care if Peter stayed or not, or jumped out the car or not. But I guess he kind of does care about his son. Like, I'm all too confused about how Horst feels about Peter throughout this entire show. But anyways, because Horst is not paying attention, the car crashes. Terrible crash. Shortly thereafter, we see Robot Cassandra pulling up, clearly like extremely upset. She realizes that both Horst and her son are dead, but we hear a baby crying. And then we kind of hear Birgit. So we know that the baby and Birgit are alive, which puts us back to that first episode opening where Birgit was coming out of the car with her baby when that man stopped and saw the crash. And then she pointed at the robot and said, it's her. So that's where that scene ends. But it doesn't end the episode there. So after Cassandra realizes that her husband and her son are dead, she shuts herself off. But then we are taken back to the house and we see like this light going on and off, on and off, on and off. And then eventually it shows this little girl clicking the lights on and off, on and off. And that's how the episode ends. And at this moment, I was kind of like, who the heck is this little girl? Because I had forgotten. But some of you may realize through me just telling this, or if you've already watched the show, you probably already noticed that this was more than likely the child that Cassandra had, because it was told that it was a girl. But we just never saw the girl, so we thought that the girl didn't exist, that she probably died. We didn't know what happened. And so, yeah, this is where we realized that that is the girl and she was left behind. So that ends episode 5 of Cassandra on Netflix. Next video, we'll be talking about episode 6, the finale. If you like this video, please like this video. Make sure you comment down below your thoughts, your theories, what you thought about this episode, what you thought about the previous episodes, what you think is going to happen in the next episode if you haven't watched this series as yet. And yeah, guys, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. Bye.